WNEP TV 16, the news station. Now, Frank Andrews, Marisa Burke, meteorologist Paul Hebner's backyard forecast, and Jay Christopher's sports. This is Newswatch 16 Midday.
Good afternoon, everyone. The 62nd annual novena to St. Anne is drawing tens of thousands of Roman Catholics to West Scranton this week. Now, the 9-day prayer service started in the early 1900s, just after World War I. It continued through the Depression, through the Second World War, Korea, Vietnam, and continues today. Now, earlier this morning, Newswatch 16's Mark Anik spoke to a couple of people who've been to all those novenas. He's standing by live now with the report. Mark?
Well, Frank, we are live this noon hour at St. Anne's Monastery here in Scranton. The first day of this 9-day celebration of the faith is in full swing. What you're seeing behind me are some of the people sitting out on the lawn. They're listening to a mass that is going on right now, this moment, inside St. Anne's Monastery. Now, a novena, of course, is 9 days of prayer and preparation. They're preparing for the feast day of St. Anne, July 26th. Now, over 62 years, there have been 62 St. Anne's novenas. We talked with two women this morning who have a pretty good attendance record. How many years have you been coming out here?
62. 62 years.
But now the novena, this is the 62nd year.
Yes, yes.
You've been here for every one.
Every one.
Ellie Reese and Margaret McHale have made it to every single St. Anne's novena. They are just two of the thousands of people from all over the country who come to pay tribute, to light candles and pray to St. Anne. She was the mother of Virgin Mary, the grandmother of Jesus Christ. During these 9 days, there is music and prayer and readings from the Bible.
When a person strikes you on the right cheek, turn and offer him the other.
Priests and parishioners say their prayers get answers, and that's why the novena is so popular. That's why people come back year after year.
And St. Anne has answered very many of my prayers. And that's why I say it brings faith to you. It keeps your faith strong.
Now, I'm told that the really incredible thing about this novena will be the 10th day, the feast day of St. Anne. You're seeing behind me literally hundreds of people on the lawn, and they are listening to a mass. On the feast day, the 26th of July, there will be a conservative estimate, 25 to 30,000 people here in Scranton. They come from all over the country, and they say it's very worthwhile. I'm Mark Anik, Newswatch 16, live with the Instacam in Scranton. Frank?
Thank you for that report, Mark. 10 Roman Catholic nuns held captive in the Philippines since last weekend were free this morning. They were unhurt. But their Muslim kidnappers are still holding an American Protestant missionary. Now, one of the nuns told reporters the kidnapping was kind of a blessing in disguise. She said the nuns have been trying to make contact with the Muslims in that part of the Philippines for years, and now they have. The Soviet Union's foreign minister says his nation wants to talk to the United States about a total nuclear test ban. But the U.S. says today it wants to talk about limiting tests, not banning them altogether. The U.S. has agreed to talk with the Soviets in Geneva, Switzerland in September, but will continue nuclear tests in the meantime. In fact, one is scheduled in the Nevada desert later today. The Commerce Department in Washington says the number of new houses being built in the United States dropped in June by 0.8%, the second drop in 2 months. Analysts say mortgage interest rates crept up again in some parts of the country, and that may be behind the slow housing starts in June. Federal lawmakers are arguing tax reform again today. A House-Senate committee tried to come up with a version both sides can agree on. Right now, the House version has a tax ceiling of 38% for higher-income families. The Senate ceiling is 27%. But the House leaves in deductions for IRAs, individual retirement accounts. The Senate version eliminates most when a company pension plan is involved. Lawmakers are trying to agree on one bill they can send to the president by Labor Day. Some rain in part of the South is easing a heat wave a bit, but 11 days of 100-degree-plus weather have ruined crops and put some farmers in a tight financial bind. But now, as ABC's Rebecca Chase explains, farmers in other parts of the country are trying to help ease the problem.
South Carolina farmer Tom Trantham is one of thousands of southern farmers who has lost his corn crop to the drought, and he is in desperate need of hay to feed his dairy cows. Since Trantham's story first appeared on ABC News, he has received dozens of calls from farmers in the Midwest. Farmers like Peter Owenson of Fort Dodge, Iowa, who have offered to give him hay.
We've just been real fortunate up here. We had a bumper crop last year, and it looks like we're headed for another one.
Well, I'm pleased because with your good fortune, you're going to help me with my misfortune.
In the meantime, the governor of Illinois has asked farmers in his state who have had plenty of rain and bumper crops to help the drought-stricken farmers in the South.
We're making an appeal to Illinois farmers who have surplus hay to either donate it or sell it to the farmers of the southeastern United States.
State officials are now working on a way to transport hay from the Midwest to the farmers in the Southeast. Tom Trantham says he likes the idea of farmers helping farmers.
They're doing it as a fellow farmer, a fellow friend, a fellow American that's in trouble.
Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Atlanta.
When we come back, the firehouse that rose from the ashes in Northumberland County and a computerized service station for pilots. We'll tell you how it works and what it does when we come back.
We think Dad's original and special mixed dry cat foods are terrific, but it means much more to hear it from you. This letter's from a cat owner in Ohio. She says her Max loves his Dad's original so much he chewed a hole right through the bag. Now, we can't guarantee that kind of enthusiasm from your cat, but we do know one thing. Even the most finicky cats won't turn their noses up at Dad's special mix or Dad's original.
The Federal Aviation Administration is also in the process of setting up what you might call a computerized service station for pilots. Automated flight service offices that can give flyers information on weather and flight conditions throughout the eastern part of the area. Newswatch 16's Dan Fiorucci has more.
Well, I can see now that if the main stuff goes out, we're going to have to go...
This is an FAA flight service station, a tiny 3- or 4-man office like the one located at most any airport. A place where a pilot can call to get safety-related information from a friendly controller.
10,000 overcast, occasionally going to 2,000 overcast, 4 miles, light rain showers and fog.
But in the near future, there'll be no more small flight service stations. They'll be replaced by centers like this, an 80-man, fully automated facility packed with computer consoles. One building, such as this one in Montoursville, will serve all the pilots in half the state of Pennsylvania.
Starting from the point in Williamsport, this whole section here will be our responsibility.
But not all pilots are thrilled by the prospect of tape-recorded and computer-assisted briefings.
It's more of an aggravation thing than it is anything else to me, because you're dealing with computers and they have a tendency not always to work.
Not so, says the FAA.
In time, and this goes in the future, a man in his own house can just hit his little computer there, come right into our system, and get the most current weather before he plans his flight to wherever he might want to go.
The FAA's new flight service station in Montoursville could go into operation as early as December. And when it does, pilots from Stroudsburg to Lock Haven will call here for flight information. And while the FAA says automated flight service will mean blue skies for everyone, some pilots say that at this point, the future of the automated systems is still too clouded to predict. Dan Fiorucci, Newswatch 16, Montoursville.
The West End Fire Company in Shamokin is opened again today, rebuilt after a devastating fire. That fire hit the Shamokin Fire Company building in January of last year when these pictures were taken. Now, it cost officials $250,000 to fix up the gutted firehouse, and it's finally open today. Officials say it'll mean better service for that community.
Every time we had any fires in this end of town, we had to go across town or get another truck from an intersection. So it'll be quicker response for the people.
The new West End Firehouse, by the way, was open to the community last night so they could all get a closer look at the repairs. Our Weather Watch forecast is coming up next. Another gray sky this morning. Let's see what's happening outside now, Paul.
We did see the sun for a while this morning.
For a little while.
Better than yesterday, certainly. We do have some sun this afternoon, but some showers are on the way. And we could see the rumble of thunder before the day is over. Full details coming up in the Weather Watch.
It's a cheerleaders convention this week in part of Monroe County. Girls from 3 states and dozens of schools are at East Stroudsburg University for cheerleading school. Now, the camp lasts all week, drawing students from Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. 140 cheerleaders are learning new cheers and new stunts to take back home and to use in national competition. The camp at East Stroudsburg University, run by a national group that takes its cheerleading school all over the nation. Many local schools are also involved in that cheerleading camp in Monroe County. Our Weather Watch forecast is coming up next, and you see Paul out there in the backyard. What a difference a day makes. Yesterday you had the umbrella up. It was miserable out there.
Maybe holding the umbrella up before the end of today, Frank. Looks as though we have some thunderstorms coming in, but we can say rah-rah for sunshine right now, and that's helping to boost the temperatures. Let's dive right into the weather watch. Still just a little bit cool up there in Lake Harmony. You know, some of the higher elevations have a little bit of trouble warming up, but Mr. Bob Hewitt says it's 64 degrees, skies are cloudy. But see how some of these weather watch temperatures change, especially with elevation once you get down into the valleys. Dale Hart from Cocalamus in Juniata County up to 72 degrees. Kind of hazy out there right now. And Harriet Moore from Milton has 80 degrees, cloudy skies. Here's a look at our backyard temperature. Readings are cruising up through the 70s. We'll probably nudge the 80s this afternoon, but not well up into the 80s. So 74 degrees we stand at right now, 69% on the relative humidity. The wind is calm right now, and we have a barometer which is holding steady. Now let's check out the satellite from yesterday into today. The first thing to look at is the band of clouds that gave us the rain yesterday. Watch how that moves to the southeast, but also keep your eye on this patch up here. That's been sliding down toward Pennsylvania, and as we'll see in a second, we do have another batch of showers to contend with. Now, there's a warm front that's setting up to our west. The really hot stuff is still out to the west, and it'll be coming in starting, well, later on today into tomorrow, a gradual warm-up. Now, here it is, these clouds sliding down to the southeast, showers and thunderstorms getting ready to enter Pennsylvania, so don't be surprised if you get clipped by a shower this afternoon. The thing to look at right now is a donut of sunshine sitting over us, but the clouds are sliding to the southeast, and I expect to see mostly cloudy skies this afternoon. Here's that warm front out over southwestern Pennsylvania. Temperature is very hot out over Ohio. Readings well up into the 80s. They'll be into the 90s this afternoon. Meanwhile, here we'll see temperatures that, which right now are in the 70s, will be getting up close to 80, but not well up into the 80s thanks to the cloud cover. 90s covers most of the East Coast, east of the Mississippi, a little patch of 70s up across the mountains, but by and large, Pennsylvania will be in the 80s this afternoon. As for the weekend, while the jet stream will gradually be lifting to the north, that means that the heat returns. We're up to 90 degrees by Sunday, a band of showers out to the west. And out in the far northwest, the big change, they've had record cold temperatures this morning. The heat will be in there for this weekend. Here's our forecast for this afternoon, calling for the clouds to return and showers moving in from northwest to southeast. 77 up in Canton, West Wyoming, 83 degrees, 85 in Slatington, 83 in Winfield. Temperatures will, for the most part, remain in the upper 70s out across Clinton County. The wind will be light. So here's the forecast, mostly cloudy. Again, the showers developing, I'd say around mid-afternoon here, maybe 4 or 5 p.m. And a little bit early up across the northern tier. 81 for the backyard high. Chance of a shower early tonight. Low temperature only dropping down to 67. A very uncomfortable night. Keep those windows open or your air conditioners on. Humid tomorrow with partly sunny skies and the same type of weather for Saturday. No big change between both days. High temperatures, 87 degrees both days, and then turning a little bit hotter on Sunday as we touch the 90-degree mark. So, Frank, a little bit of everything. Some sun, some clouds, some showers. I think that'll keep the heat down a little bit.
I was going to say that donut of sunshine has dunked into our area. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll take that with a cup of coffee.
Okay, thanks a lot, Paul. Jay Christopher's up next on Newswatch 16 Midday with the story of the extra player at the All-Star Game. And boy, is Tommy Lasorda mad. We'll tell you why when we come back with the Sports Watch.
Drop everything. Race to Rackeson's $1 million emergency inventory liquidation. Every suit, every sport coat, everything sacrificed for quick sale. Famous brand suits, values to $225, must be sold from $79. Sports coats, values to $145, must be sold from $39. Slacks, shirts, ties, everything goes to the bare walls. Most below wholesale. Rackeson's must raise cash fast. Banks and creditors must be paid immediately. Pennsylvania's biggest menswear liquidation at Rackeson's in Scranton and Kingston.
Seems like everybody in baseball's in a bad mood, Tommy. Lasorda, oil can, yeah.
I'll tell you, it's one of those weeks.
I
Thanks,
guess,
Frank. Hello again, everybody. Boston Red Sox hurler Oil Can Boyd has made the sports headlines again. This time it's with the Chelsea, Massachusetts police. Boyd was stopped by the police on a routine drug search of his car, and he responded with threats and some fisticuffs. He swung and hit a police officer. No drugs were found, but Red Sox manager Lou Gorman suspended Boyd until the matter is finally resolved. Yesterday, Boyd arrived at Fenway Park, thinking he was going to Seattle with the team. Well, he was still steaming from the day before.
I can't fish no more. And here's my biggest witness. Get him through.
Now, inside the park, Boyd found out that he was suspended. Gorman broke it to him gently, but he was boiling once again. Oil Can will have a hearing on July 29th, at which time it'll be determined whether or not formal charges will be filed against him. Till then, Boyd will be watching a lot of baseball on TV. The story you're about to see and hear borders on insanity of sort. It's about a young man whose wallpaper is beginning to peel. He says it's a hobby, but others like Tommy Lasorda of the Dodgers have other names for it. You'll see what I mean in this report from Greg Allen.
Well, his name is Barry Bremen, and his elevator doesn't quite reach the penthouse suite. His thing is the challenge of living out his fantasies. Like the time he took warm-up in an NBA playoff game, in a Rockets uniform even. Or the time he went on the field as an NFL referee, and even huddled with him. Now, a wild one was being a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, but that didn't last long. Boys in Texas didn't go for that. And he even accepted Betty Thomas's Emmy Award for her last September, and it didn't make Betty happy at all.
And thank you, and thank everybody, and especially Dick Schaap. Thank you.
Well, this year, Bremen's mission was to infiltrate the National League All-Star Game as a New York Met.
It's for fun. It's harmless. It's for the fun of it, and it's a fantasy that's come true. You know, I've been on many TV shows, and I can sit back when I'm 80 years old in my rocking chair and look at the video and say, I can't believe I did that.
He met his friend Ozzie Smith at the hotel and went to the Dome with him. And with the place crawling with Secret Service for the vice president and policemen, Bremen just walks right in with a uniformed escort, no less. Now, after hiding and changing his clothes in the sauna, it was time for Bremen to hit the field.
Hey, Don. How are you? I'm doing good. How about you? Good to see you. Hi, Gary. Okay.
While shagging balls in the outfield, Astros Dave Smith and Mike Scott told Bremen, hey, you're a wanted man.
You were warned about? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. They were on the lookout? They know you're here. Talking to me. Yeah. Who's that? That's the guy. That's him? That's the guy that warned us. You better go check him left. Who is he? I have no idea. Something with the commissioner's office. Is that right? Yeah. Bummer.
But the bottom really falls out when Tommy Lasorda spots Bremen.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What the are you trying to pull?
I'm sorry. I've done it before.
I don't give a what you've done. Get your out of here.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Who the do you think you are?
It's just to go through batting
fantasy, my get off the field.
Okay.
You pull that again, and you're going to get your thrown in jail. Let's go.
Okay, Tommy. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get that upset. Listen, the players...
All right, get your off the field.
Okay,
let's go.
I apologize. I understand. As I said, listen, you know, I'm not...
You've been done doing this every year.
I just wanted to go through batting practice once.
Is that all you want to do?
Yeah, just one hit, and that's it.
This is Bob Allen reporting.
Guy's loose. Other sports stories this midday. Gorman Thomas is back in Milwaukee. The Brewers signed the slugger for the remainder of the season. He's the all-time home run hitter with the Brewers. William the Refrigerator Perry, well, that's not the refrigerator. That's Gorman's home run. He reported to training camp yesterday 25 pounds overweight. He punished the scale at 325 pounds. There's a good look at the fridge. And Ronaldo Nehemiah has given up on pro football. As a result, he's been reinstated to amateur status by the International Amateur Athletic Federation. He's going back to do a little track work on Ronaldo Nehemiah. I don't know about that.
Boy, I could come up with a million comments. Tommy Lasorda sure beeps a lot, doesn't he?
He beeps a lot.
Thanks a lot, Jay. When Newswatch 16 Midday returns, the Derby hat that costs $7,000. But it comes with a cane, too, and we're not clowning around. We'll tell you about the auction when Newswatch 16 Midday returns.
When the Simpsons came back from vacation, Mrs. Simpson discovered...
He didn't run the dishwasher.
I thought you were going to run it.
These have been sitting around for a week. Nothing's going to make them look good.
Try Cascade. It cuts right through dried-on food, and while most detergents can leave drops that spot, Cascade sheeting action leaves glasses virtually spotless.
They're not going to look good.
They look good.
They look great.
Try Cascade. It doesn't just clean. It goes all the way to clear.
Ho, 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 Bassett's nationwide Christmas in July sale at Jacob Kurlanchik's today, tonight, Friday, and Saturday. 41 famous furniture factories joining in with 20 to 50% off everything. And Jacob Kurlanchik's present is free interest for 1 full year.
Hi, I'm Bob Spillman, chairman of the board of Bassett Furniture Industries.
I welcome you to the largest sale of furniture in the United States.
20 to 50% off everything, free interest for 1 full year. Jacob Kurlanchik's Dallas Duryea Chinchilla today and tonight.
And finally today, a chance for someone to buy part of film history, a derby hat and a cane that became trademarks for a famous actor. They belonged to Charlie Chaplin back in the 1920s, and today they're being auctioned off in England. Now, the auction is taking place at Christie's Auction House in London, England. The famous hat and the walking stick should get around $7,500, according to officials. The cane is autographed by Charlie Chaplin. The derby, made by John Stetson back in the 1900s, specifically for the actor, bears his signature and Chaplin's initials. And that's all we have time for Newswatch 16 Midday. For Marisa Burke, who has the day off, and Mark Anik on assignment in Scranton, have a good afternoon, everyone.